My name is Eric Robert Powell. I'm on YouTube as Amen Horace Ra. The subject we are going to speak about today is the catastrophe that happened in the country of Japan. I've heard it said over the television, on the radio and newspapers, how could God let such a thing happen? Why would he create so much misery for the Japanese people who have already suffered so much? This is the third time they have been hit with radiation, as in World War II, when they had already surrendered twice, and yet America dropped 2 atomic weapons on them, which in the end had the Japanese on an aircraft carrier bowing their heads to the white man. I want you to know today that this was not a natural occurrence, and it was not an act of God. In order to prove a conspiracy, one need only look at the circumstantial evidence involved in order to find out the guilty parties. This is universal law. Now, a miracle took place in Japan, and I believe it was a fishing village among many other villages, and the village was known as Minami Sanriku, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. We ancient Egyptians had names for gods, and I'm going to make this very short. The god Min, M-I-N, stood for virility. Then there was a pharaoh god named Amy Pei, P-E, as I am Eric Powell, Eric Robert Powell. You also have the letters I am involved in the name Amy Pei, who collects all of the souls of great men who are either assassinated or unable to complete their mission as planned. Now, a miracle is that the name of Amenhotep is a 33 for Amen and a 64 for the name Hotep. Now, there were 9,700 people missing from this fishing village, which were later accounted for. This was my way of explaining to the people of the world that it was not an act of God. Jesus is called Amen in the scriptures, and he's also known as the architect. In real life, this is Amenhotep, Hotep also known as Imhotep, but as far as the scriptures are concerned, is written, I am Hotep. Now, it says also in Matthew 24:32, now learn this parable of the fig tree. When its branches have become tender and put forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places, which is supposed to be various places. The European Jews and the popes came up with a policy called Dumb Diversal, which you can look up under the internet, and you'll see some of the people responsible for what has occurred. Now, the quake itself was centered 169 kilometers, which is 105 miles off the east coast of Honshu, directly east of the city of Sendai, which was reported by the U.S. Geological Survey people. Now, the quake was an 8.9, but before we go into this, 169 kilometers, equaling 105 miles, is also the birthday of 12/26/1956, with a 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time birth zone ratio. Now, Those are my numbers as Eric Robert Powell, as Amenhotep. I saved 9,700 people from that village. And yet the devils, when they say, how could God let such a thing happen, to have these people destroyed as they were and their homes destroyed, I want to make it known right now that it was not an act of God. This involves what is known as the Telsa technology, which is now run by Telstar and is embedded in all of the communication satellites owned by the Western world. An 8.9 magnitude was supposed to hit Japan early Friday. The epicenter of this earthquake was 373 kilometers, which is 231 miles from Tokyo. So says the United States Geological Survey people. The number 231 is embedded in the name of King Tut, or Tutankhamun, because of the years he was supposed to have lived and died, shortened from 4 numbers to 3. In a moment, we are going to go to segment 2. The oil company, Bonanza, the steel company, Bonanza, and an interesting man by the name of Warren Buffett, who said, and I'm going to quote him if I can, well, we'll just get back to part 2. There was another quake which registered 7.9, which is again Amenhotep. So the people wanted to think that they could fool everyone into thinking that Amenhotep, as God, was responsible for these occurrences. They simply were not. I wouldn't save a people who I destroyed. Japan now has been bombed literally 3 times by the same Western world. This is an act of war against the people of Japan and their country, organized by the West and by the State of Israel. Part 2 coming now.